Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be talking about Tropical Storm Nicholas, which should be making landfall possibly later today. We also got Invest 95L to watch here. That could be a big system. We're also watching this disturbance right in here that may develop to something and may come close to the East Coast over the next several days here. So we're going to get started here with the infrared satellite imagery here across the Atlantic. And we're watching three areas. Again, we got one here. We got tropical wave here, which is also invested 95L. And then tropical storm Nicholas, which that'll be the main part of the video, or the main topic of the video today as well. So you can see here, tropical storm Nicholas. What's been very interesting last night here, that last night, the original center circulation was like right here. Well, a new bob of convection developed further up north, and then the new circulation developed right here. That's a big shift to the north, which brings some better news here because that could lead to a slightly faster system and may make landfall earlier than expected here. With that very northern shift, that could lead to some maybe less lower rainfall totals, but there's still going to be a significant amount of rain either way out of the system as well. We're also watching this tropical wave out here. This definitely could become something over the next several days here in the main development region. We're also watching this area of thunderstorms right in here. That may continue to move up to the northeast here. It will be interacting with some dry air and also some wind shear, so we'll have a hard time developing as well. But it may try to develop into maybe a tropical depression at best there as well. But Tropical Storm Nicholas is kind of the main part of the video today. So this is the National Hurricane Center outlook here. So again, three areas for watching here. We got Tropical Storm Nicholas, which currently has winds of 60 miles per hour with a pressure of 1,002 millibars. Pressure's not that low with Nicholas as of right now, but it is moving north at 12 miles per hour, so it's moving at a decent speed here. It's also pretty close to the coastline as well. So if it was further out on the east coast here, further away from the coast, we could be talking about possibly a stronger system here. And we also got this disturbance here, which currently has a 50% chance in the next 5 days. And then you got this tropical wave out here, which currently has a 30% chance in the next 48 hours. And then an 80% chance in the next 5 days. Let's click on Tropical Storm Nicholas here. And let's talk about the winds first. And really anybody in the orange colors here, which is at least a 50% chance to see tropical storm winds. Which is pretty close to the Houston area, but I bet it partially includes the Galveston area. That's probably will have the better opportunity to see tropical storm winds. Even areas in the red as well has that probably that better chance to see some tropical storm winds, which is winds greater than 40 miles per hour. Sustained winds, at least for a minute. And that 40 to 50% chance or that 30 to 40% chance does expand decently far north. It does include the Houston area as well. So you guys even have a decent chance to see some tropical storm force winds as well, which could do some damage with winds of 40 miles per hour, but it isn't anything significant. But probably areas in the dark, when you get to those red colors, that's where you could probably see some damage from those winds. That's where we could possibly see sustained winds up to 70 miles per hour, which is pretty close to a hurricane at that point. But the probabilities for a hurricane is extremely low. We're not really expecting a hurricane out of the system. They currently have a 5 to 10% chance to see a hurricane, pretty much. Hurricane force winds. But the biggest problem with this one here is the rainfall. Now, there is some better news on this map here. Since it has have a further northern shift, there's now lesser rainfall totals, but they're still high though when you think about it. Anybody in the orange color here could have that potential to see some significant rainfall totals, which is 6 to 10 inches. But I think the better probability to see the potential for some significant flooding will probably be in this area that I've circled there in pink. Let me actually redo that real quick. I think areas right in here will probably have the better chance to see some significant rainfall totals because the center of circulation is like right here. And currently the hurricane models have a track of something like this. But it starts to make that northeastward turn here. Wherever it starts to make that northeastward turn, you'll start to see these heavy rain or showers of thunderstorms, you kind of see that in a longer period of time than anybody else. So when you have that type of situation, you can see higher rainfall totals. Which from the weather predictor, they do have isolated areas of possibly 10 plus inches of rain. So that potential for double digit rainfall totals is there. We've already seen some rain across these regions here, so the soils are a little bit saturated already. So this is not good news for some of these folks here as well. Here's the flash flood risk outlook. We actually do have a high risk for flooding today, which is for a very small area. It does not include Houston, but it's just about maybe about 100 miles south of Houston. It's where we have that high risk. But anybody in the red, that's where we have the moderate risk. That's where we actually do have the potential to see some significant flooding, which unfortunately includes places like New Orleans that got hit hard by Ida uh, last month. So again, New Orleans area, you guys may have to just see some significant flooding again, but it won't be as bad as Ida. Let's get that out of the way. But the flooding potential is there. So anybody who lives in the New Orleans area, even for Lake Charles, Houston, even for Corpus Christi as well, has that potential to see some flooding out of the system here. And it could be significant in some places with the system. Storm surge will be another problem here, really between Port O'Connor to St. Louis Pass. That's where we have the chance for 3 to 5 feet storm surge. And then 2 to 4 feet will be from St. Louis Pass. That also includes Galveston Bay up into, looks to be Woodford Beach with 2 to 4 feet storm surge. And then from Port O'Connor down to Baffin Bay, that's where we're going to experience 2 to 4 feet storm surge as well. That's why we're going to see that really noticeable storm surge. 1 to 3 feet isn't that bad, which it does include the mouth of Rio Grande up to Baffin Bay, and then 1 to 3 feet from Rutherford Beach to Intercoastal City, where we could possibly see 1 to 3 feet of storm surge as well, which isn't bad. But really, anybody in that 3 to 5 feet storm surge will likely have the better opportunity to see some of the worst storm surge down there as well. So here's the cone of uncertainty here, and we actually do have hurricane watches in effect here. We'll see if this thing here tries to rapidly intensify before landfall, but the chance of that is a little bit low because there's some wind shear, especially when it makes landfall here, which will probably happen later today, or later tonight, I should say. That's when the conditions, the environment just really decreases. You have dry air. You go from a decent environment here, which is not much of any wind shear, to a lot of wind shear and also tons of dry air to work with. So really, as soon as this thing here makes landfall, it'll definitely shred apart fairly quickly here. It'll die down fairly quickly here. Um, so yeah, on that, tropical storm warnings do go up to the Texas and Louisiana state border, at least along the coastline there as well. And it does end up into Louisiana really by Wednesday, and eventually it gets towards Mississippi, which would be a post tropical cyclone here right by Thursday as well. But really the biggest threat out of this system here will be rainfall. And this is the HRRR model. You can see here, I think this is probably the most accurate model here. Other models I've seen here probably not going to handle this too well. But you can see where we're talking about here. Areas I've circled here in blue here, that's where the HRRR model is indicating probably where the most significant rainfall would be, which looks to be generally 8 to possibly 11 inches of rain in some of those places in here. Even areas to across parts of Louisiana and southern Mississippi also could see a lot of rainfall as well, which that is a general 3 to 5 inches of rain, which is quite a bit of rain. When you think about it, even areas in the blue here, that's 5 to 7 inches of rain, pretty much. So a lot of rain's coming, not only for southeastern Texas, but even for the southern half of Louisiana, even to parts of southern Mississippi as well. Could see a lot of rainfall in this system here. It's definitely got a lot of moisture to work with. But we'll see how that dry air kind of affects the system here a little bit. Maybe a little bit of overkill in these rainfall totals, but we'll see what happens here. But there's also another threat with this here, and that's the tornado threat. And you see here, whenever it makes landfall, these bands right here, these will have the better opportunity to see the potential tornado threat. Some of these little bands in here, little supercells kind of within the tropical storm here, and those will have the better opportunity to produce tornadoes. So this is in the early morning hours of Tuesday. You can see here, really these cluster thunderstorms here have that better opportunity to produce a tornado or have a tornado threat. And that could probably produce some water spouts out there as well. And as you kind of continue on later in the period here, actually has that low pressure system kind of going along the coastline. Maybe a little too far south for my taste. Maybe a little further up north here. But some of these storms here could try to rotate a little bit as well. So we definitely need to watch for that tornado threat. Really, these areas right in here will probably have to watch for that tornado threat as well. But these will be isolated to scattered in nature. So keep in mind that. You can see here when it gets into Louisiana, looks like a little better tornado threat at that point. At least it has that look to it as well. So here's Tropical Storm Nicholas, a little better look on it on infrared satellite imagery. Lots of convection on the eastern side. This is where the hurricane most currently think about of where this thing could go. And you can see here, whenever it makes that northeastward turn, really just to the southeast of that, that's where we're going to experience most of that rainfall. At least that's where we're currently forecasted. I think some places could definitely get to the double-digit rainfall totals, which is 10 plus inches of rain. You can see that how it continues to move up to the northeast. Eventually, it'll get up to the Tennessee Valley later this week as well. But really, areas south of the system here will probably have some of the better chance of seeing impacts from this system here as well. Which the main threat would be heavy rainfall, but it could be an isolatory effort, especially into parts of southeastern Texas and maybe southern Louisiana, which we'll check out the storm prediction outlook very quickly here. So this is for today. We got a slight risk for severe weather across far southeastern Texas. Tornadoes will be the main threat with those there as well. And there's tomorrow, got the marginal risk across parts of southeastern Texas and southern Louisiana as well. And then by day 3, the tornado threat's not really around anymore. So yeah, we do need to watch for that tornado threat as well. So let's check out the GFS model here. We'll kind of talk about the other systems here. So this is the wind shear. And like I was talking about here, when it makes landfall, check out the stronger wind shear on the northern side of the system here. I mean, this thing will likely get shredded apart when it makes a landfall right there. You can see here, bam, it's pretty much gone from the GFS. Then watch this area right in here for potential development at around the same time here. So you can see here, really by late Wednesday night, you got a tropical system trying to develop there, at least a tropical cyclone there. That may be a very weak tropical depression at that point. That could be a potential tropical cyclone, possibly at that point there, with 1,012 millibars. But you also notice here, there's a cold front back here. And if this cold front trends faster, this thing here may actually stay off from shore here. It may actually miss the east coast here. But you guys can still see some impacts like larger waves and stronger rip currents out of the system here, but it won't be too effective on that because you do see here for the GFS model shows a very weak system. But you also notice in the main development region, we also got that other tropical system as well. That's what I was talking about with that strong tropical wave there. Watch what kind of happens with that tropical wave there. Look at that. At that point here, it's actually started to rapidly intensify at that point. With those very warm sea surface temperatures, as if we look right now with those sea surface temperatures, look how warm it is. I believe it's approximately right there, but like the GFS was showing here, look where it starts to rapidly intensify with those very warm sea surface temperatures. Eventually start to have that northern turn here, indicated by the GFS model here, which you'll see here in a moment. Meanwhile, that other tropical system may attach to that cold front and may turn to something later on down the road. But then you also start to notice something here on the northern side here. There's actually some stronger wind shear up there. When it gets up there, it'll start to slowly die down. But you also see at this point here, this is a Category 1 hurricane, possibly a Category 2 hurricane as well with a pressure of 977 millibars. But then whenever it hits that wind shear, you can see here how rapidly dies down. But you also do notice here at the same time, look at this big trough over in the central United States here. That's a pretty impressive trough there. And you know, it's fall, so we're going to start to see these big troughs a little bit more often here. And that can also lead to some severe weather to the east of that big trough there as well. And with this big trough moving in, this could actually make this system here stay away from the United States here. As we kind of watch this here, with this big trough here, there's also a big ridge out here as well. So your ridge of high pressure will probably be somewhere right in here. And I may try to steer this thing here away from the United States here as well. Actually make it towards it a little bit as well. But when this cold front kind of gets closer here, it'll start to steer this thing here away. But you do see here, so here's your front, pretty much approximately right here. So your cold front's now approached the east coast at this point here. Now we're getting pretty far out, so this will likely change at this point here. This is just for one model. You do watch this tropical system here actually starts to gain some intensity again afterwards here. But then again, this will likely change here. This is very far out, but you do see here, and then it starts to move up to the northeast. Let's check out the moisture out there, and you do see here, again with Nicholas right here, probably a little bit underdone with the dry air here. I think there's a little bit more dry air than it thinks, especially with some of that wildfire smoke out there. It's going to try to kind of come in to the southern part of the circulation of the storm there, and it may try to decrease some of that moisture there. Hopefully that's going to be the case here with the system here. And you do see here some of its remains do go up into northern Louisiana. And you do see here with some of those green colors, that's where we'll likely see some of that shower and thunderstorm activity. Plus, there's a front to the north as well. And that'll make it continue to move up to the northeast. Meanwhile, here's this other potential tropical cyclone we'll be watching for as well. And it does interact with a little bit of dry air just to the south west of that, there is a little bit dry air over the Bahamas. And that could really affect that system there as well. Plus, with some wind shear to work with, it'll definitely have a hard time developing. But then when it gets closer to the East Coast, then there's no dry air to work with at that point. Also, at the same time here, there's a big cold front just behind that. There's actually a secondary front right there as well. At the same time, here's this other big tropical wave that we've been talking about there. Not much dry air out there. So this thing here's got a green light for intensification over the main development region. Till it gets closer to the Lesser Antilles, where there's more wind shear, there's also some dry air nearby as well. Even on the eastern side and the western side, there's some dry air out there. So it definitely has some obstacles to go through, especially with that wind shear. It can really shred this thing here apart, which is what the GFS does suggest at that point. But then again, later on down the road, it comes back to life and then moves up into the northern part of the Atlantic at that point as well. So tropics definitely look to be active here over the next several days here, probably a couple weeks as well. But also at the same time, watch the United States here. Not only will we probably have tropics to watch, but even severe weather chances as well, like we are seeing over the next couple of days here. Here's today, got a couple cyclones across the north. Then you got slight risk across parts of Great Lakes and Midwest. And then on day 3, you got slight risk for parts of the Northeast and the New England states as well. So severe weather will definitely be something we'll be watching here over the next several days as well here. And that'll likely continue on throughout most of the fall as well. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you're new like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.